Welcome to the latest Seahawks Draft Blog live stream. Rob Staten and Robbie here to reflect on the first round of the draft. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts that you must share with the community that we have here, then send your super chats in and we will get across to them. Make sure you subscribe as well. We are not that far off 10,000 subscribers now. So if you were to help us out, especially during this draft season, so that you don't miss any of the videos over the next few days, then hit that subscribe button and give us your support. So, Robbie, I am very pleased. I am sat here today. I am delighted that Gray Zabel was Seattle's pick at number 18. It may have been the obvious pick. It may have been the pick that nearly every mock draft predicted in the world over the last 7 days. However, Robbie, it was the right pick. How many years have we been doing this? And how often have we talked up offensive linemen who just look like they've got the right stuff? And then the Seahawks don't take them. Twitter explodes. You have people complaining about it for years, and they go on to have great careers for the Philadelphia Eagles or whoever else. And if they'd have passed on Zabel, I'm guaranteeing you, Robert, he'd have gone somewhere like the Chargers maybe, or somewhere like that, or the Lions, or whoever. And he'd have had a great career, and he'd have been fantastic. The Vikings, he'd have gone there instead of Donovan Jackson. And it would have been unbelievable for them. And we'd have all been adding him to the list with Batonio and Jurgens and Dickerson and Humphrey and all of the other guys that we could mention here. But they took him, Robbie. They took him at 18. They can plug him in now on that interior offensive line. And all is well with the world. What are your thoughts on that pick?
Yeah, no, it's a great pick. Like in our last pod, I was just convinced it wasn't going to happen. I just, when I got done with the came back from the combine and we were talking, kind of off air, and I was like, man, Gray Zabel, something about him just was calling my name, and I was having a hard time believing. I started seeing everybody mocking him to Seattle, and that's when I was like, he ain't coming to Seattle. You know what I mean? Like when it starts happening, that you just feel like it's not going to happen. So for it to actually hear his name. And him being selected, it's kind of a bit of a relief. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of a relief. Like, dang, it finally happened. All right, and like now it's exciting, and now I'm really curious. Where does he play? Where does he play on in the interior line? Is it center? Is it left guard? Right guard? Like where is he going? And that makes day two really, really interesting. Who do they go get? If they grab another offensive lineman that's clearly going to be a left guard, does he play center now? And now how powerful does that interior line all of a sudden become? It's quite exciting. So I'm stoked. What a great first day. What a great first mock draft. And listen, I will give you something that I've been thinking about the whole time. You were the first person that called out Shadir Sanders falling in the draft. And I remember people on the side right here on the chat, people were like, what? No. And here we are. And he is not a first round draft pick. So kudos to you, man. You're the first one that I saw heard say it, and there you are.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I just love the pick, man. I just love it. It does open a lot of things up for you. Like you say, if you go and get another guard now and you want to put them at left guard, you can. You could even you've got options. So let's imagine this scenario. Imagine that you play him at left guard, and let's say you want to give Timmy or Jalen Sundell a chance to be your center. If in 12 months it doesn't work out and he isn't your center, you could try Gray Zabel there instead if you wish. Like you have that option to be flexible with him now. But I think he's a guard. I think he's an excellent guard. And I didn't understand like some of the hesitancy that was with Gray Zabel that existed. And it was only a small minority. I think most people, Robbie, really liked Gray Zabel. But what are we talking about here? We're talking about somebody who jumped to 37.5-inch vertical. Do people understand how hard it is to do that at 315 pounds? Like everyone went crazy, Robbie, because Shamar Stewart jumped like a 40-inch vertical or something, and Nick Emanwari did. It's like, yeah, do you know what the difference is in their verticals and Gray Zabel's? It's like that, okay? It's like that much distance. And he's 300 pounds, man. He's 300 pounds. Why was nobody talking about his vertical jump? It's unbelievable. He's so explosive. His testing profile, his TEF score for explosive traits is exactly the same as Creed Humphreys. Exactly the same score, a 3.25. He's up there with Frank Ragnow and Zach Tom and people like that. They're the kind of player that Seattle needs. And he is the perfect blend for me, Robbie, of character and grittiness. He finishes his blocks. That's the one thing. I'm not the greatest Charles Cross fan in the draft because he wasn't really an aggressive finisher. But Gray Zabel is. He finishes his blocks. So he's got that sort of the attitude that you're looking for. He's got unbelievable upside as an athlete. And yet I don't see him failing, Robbie. Touch wood, I'm not tempting fate. I just don't see him being a disaster. I think you're going to get a base level. His floor is decent. So even if the traits and everything else doesn't end up matching up to the next level, I think he's going to give you solid performance. I don't think there's any reason to wonder whether he can't be a more explosive Joe Tooney for the Seahawks. And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? And we could sit here and there's people saying it was an adjunct failure to not go and get Tevin Jenkins or something like that. Balls to it. Like, they've got a better player. He's younger. He's more explosive, more athletic. This is a plan, Robbie. This is what they needed. This is not a reach. He was a legit top 20 pick. He had everything that you needed to be a top 20 pick. All of the talk coming into the draft, Robbie, he might go to 11. He might get to 12, 13, 14, whatever like that. That's the kind of ballpark he's been in. It's a good thing. It's a luxury that he lasted to 18 so the Seahawks could take him. For me, Robbie, no different than Byron Murphy lasting to 16 a year ago. It's the exact same situation.
Yeah, I mean, and it checks all the boxes, right? Scheme fit and a need, and he comes in and he's going to be a player that we can plug in right away. And I think when you want someone at 18, that's what you're looking for, a player that you can play almost immediately. So many things to be excited about. I'm stoked about this, and all the things you mentioned. I think I saw Jen mention it as well in here. I don't know where she put it, posted somewhere, but he also destroyed it at the Senior Bowl. He absolutely the Senior Bowl was one of the times that he shined, and then he comes into the combine and had those testing numbers. This is just the right pick. It just feels like the right pick at the right time, and I'm happy with it. I'm really, really happy with it.
Let's get to some super chats because a lot of people are reacting. We already showed Troy's reaction. And Troy, thank you very much for your super chat there. I think a lot of people will agree with your sentiment that you've voiced. Well said there, Troy. Well said. This one from Tai Tai. I'm going to complain that I have nothing to complain about now. John Schneider finally did the right thing. Now, what's the plan for day 2, Rob? Give us some names. We're going to come to some names. Don't worry. I've got my updated board with the names that have been taken already off. I'll be giving you some names very shortly. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Washington Fish Quest says, congratulations on nailing the pick, gentlemen. Yes, that was the pick in my mock draft. I think I got 8 first-round picks correct, which I'm quite happy with given how unpredictable this draft was, and one of them was Gray Zabel. Sadly, the whole internet was pretty much projecting Gray Zabel, apart from the last couple in the last 24 hours that had him going sooner. Benjamin says, 4 words, my wife, cookies, me. Thank you, Benjamin. Appreciate that. Mark D says, wasn't he a converted tight end and linebacker before settling on offensive line? He can probably read defense as well. $480 mark going to $499 mark until the beer's kicking. Mark, really appreciate that. I mean, the legend that is $480 mark. For people who don't know, he accidentally sent a $480 super chat in when he'd had a few beers at a game as he was on his way out of Lumen Field. And in my eyes, is the real star of Seahawks Draft Blog and of this channel. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that and hope you're well. Me has sent in a very generous super chat. Much appreciate that. Hey, Rob, just showing some love. How do you feel about Zabel at 18? Well, me, I am absolutely ecstatic with the pick. I couldn't be happier. I don't think there was anybody that I would have rather had than Gray Zabel in that situation. There's other players that I liked, other players that if they took Malachi Starks or Emeka Egbuka, I have been saying Egbuka's going to go earlier than people think. He was a top 20 pick in the end. He was the 19th pick after Seattle's. I would have been happy with him. I would have been happy with Matthew Golden. I would have been happy with Malachi Starks. I would have been happy with Donovan Jackson. But I really wanted Gray Zabel because of the positional need and the upside. So I'm delighted with the pick, and thank you for that super chat. It is much appreciated. And CC says, you can't tip picks, but you can tip the host. CC, appreciate that. Love it. Love the super chats. Keep those coming in. One has just jumped in now from 96 Go Hawks. Let's make Zabel's nickname Oberfelt Zabel from now on. I don't get it, but I'm going to read it out anyway. It's so cool. Plus, Oberfelt Webel translates to Chief Petty Officer in German, which suits him. Appreciate that. If you are German, then you obviously understand it a little bit more than me. But I do love Germany, and I love Gray Zabel in a Seahawks uniform. Very much looking forward to seeing him play. Keep those super chats coming in. So yeah, I just think it's. Was there anybody else, Robbie, that you kind of had your eye on, or what? When the Seahawks got on the clock, were you hoping for Zabel, and what was your reaction when you heard the call?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody that I was like, oh, I'd rather have them over Zabel. I think for the most part, I was just mostly nervous when the Niners were up, and like, mostly I wonder if Zabel will go to them, or like where does that domino start to fall for us? But when it came time and then it was our pick, really early on, it was like, oh, the Seahawks are looking to trade back, and then it was like you stop thinking about like who the player could be and what the trade could be. But then the highlights, the pick is in, and you're like, okay, here we go. So yeah, there was no one that I was looking at saying I'd rather have this player over Gray Zabel. There was a small moment there where I thought maybe Tyler Warren was dropping far enough to get in our range. That would have been pretty exciting. But other than that, no, that's it.
Yeah, I think Warren was tantalizing, but I really like Warren and I really like Loveland. I talked about them potentially trading up for either player, but you know what? As it was getting nearer to it, I wasn't hoping for that. I was really sort of focusing on Zabel, because if they'd have not taken Gray Zabel, Robbie, today, if they'd have taken a different position, what would we be doing now? We'd be looking at the board. I'm just, while you were speaking that, I'm trying to get the board onto the blog so that I can share it and show people who is left on the horizontal board. So I'll take 2 seconds and I'll get it up. But if when we actually bring it up, you will see that pure left guards or tackles who can convert inside, there aren't many left. So it would have put them in a bit of a desperate situation there. And now they're not in a desperate situation. They can start a game of football tomorrow if they need to, with Oluwatimi or Sendell in centre, with Haynes at right guard, and with Zabel at left guard. And hopefully the coaching will elevate some of those other players, and Zabel can come in and have a really good input there as well. So I really like the pick. So now that I have managed to get the horizontal board onto the blog, the updated version, I am going to share it now. Okay, it's very small at the moment, but I will zoom in. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a bit further so that we can actually see. So I'll start off with the offense. These are the players. As you can see, none of the first round players are left. So these are sort of what I'd call fringe first rounders, and then pure second rounders. And I think there's about 30 odd of these still left on the board. So I think it's pretty safe to say, Robbie, although there has been this talk about Ken Walker being traded, I don't think they're going to take a running back in day two. At least not in round two, so we can forget that. Luther Burden's still there. I'm not sure that he's a character fit for the Seahawks. But Jack Besh and Jaden Higgins are both talented players, as are Jalen Noel and Kyle Williams at receiver. I'm going to move down a little bit so we can see some of these second and third fringe types, because they could be in play as well. Torrey Horton's a good player, but again, I don't think you have to take him in round two. I think he might be round three. The two next tier tight ends are still available: Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor. I would consider moving up for them if the price was right. Thing is, though, Robbie, what do you think of this? What do you think of that trade from the Falcons to the Rams pick? So they moved up about 20 spots and gave up next year's first. When I saw that, the first thing I thought was, why are the Eagles moving up to take such a risk on someone like James Pierce? And then the other thing I thought was, this is going to screw anybody who wants to move up, like maybe the Seahawks from 50, because to move up 20 picks now, they're going to use that as precedence. So unless a team wants to throw that out, throw that in the garbage and just say, well, we'll just do a deal that we're happy with, that's fine. But now people are going to go, well, the Rams got a first rounder to drop down 20 spots. So if you want to move up from 50 to 30, 38 or 35, that's going to be a lot more expensive now. So I think it is going to be difficult. I've just seen a comment. I just want to bring into this. It's a massive segue from Rob, who said the Seahawks war room looked so glum after the Zabel pick. No smiles, handshakes, or high fives. Wonder why. I did detect that as well. I think I'd say two things. One, it's always possible to read too much into that. it might have just been a very predictable scenario. And two, I think they really wanted to trade down, Robbie. I think they wanted to. I think they were, and not necessarily because they just wanted to get out the Zabel pick. I think they thought they had a great deal to be had. Perhaps one like the Daniel Jeremiah suggestion yesterday, where they could end up getting a second rounder next year. And I think they'd probably got the heart set on that. And once that did not come off, they may have been a little bit disappointed. But I'm pretty sure they're not disappointed at drafting Gray Zabel. And there were still good players on the board at 18. So I think it's fine. And then other players who are available, like Ariante Ursary, I don't think they're going to take a tackle. Tate Ratledge, I would happily take at 50 or 52. I tweeted out after the combine when the offensive lineman works out, Robbie, if you gave me Gray Zabel and Tate Ratledge in the first 2 rounds, I would be absolutely delighted. And if you want athletic, angry, big men who are Eagles-style blockers, Robbie, I don't care that you spent a 3rd-round pick on Christian Haynes last year. I would happily take Tate Ratledge at 50 or 52. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'm all for it.
And Jared Wilson's still there as well. There had been a bit of chat that he may sneak into round 1, but that's obviously not happened. And he's, very similar to Eric McCoy and would also be a great pick. You have a bunch of pass rushers still left, as you can see there. So Donovan Ezeraku, I just had a feeling with him. Like, I could see why he was going to go, top 25. But I also wondered whether or not he could end up like Boya Mafe and go in that range and Derek Hall. And that looks as if it's going to be the case. I think Braden Swinson would be, if he lasts to 50 or 52, I don't understand it. I think he'd be a fantastic pick. If you could get him in the 2nd round, I think he'd be an unbelievable pick. A lot of people like JT Tumalau and think that he's been underrated and think that he could be a fine one there. And Mike Green has got the character concerns, and you wonder how far he is going to fall at this point. Jordan Birch is very athletic. I think maybe the DeMarcus Lawrence pick means that they're not going to go for that type of defensive lineman. Landon Jackson's there as well. I don't see either of those two being targets. Alfred Collins at nose tackle is a potential one to watch. TJ Sanders more of a 3-technique pass rusher. So is Darius Alexander. Not sure that they will be options there. Carson Schwessing is a very good player, but he's a pure middle linebacker, and they'd have him paid Ernest Jones. I'm not sure they would go in that direction. And then you've got these defensive backs here, Robbie. Will Johnson has fallen out of the 1st round. Now, that's the injury concerns are clearly serious, and you wonder how long he's going to last now. But when a player of his talent drops to round 2, that is serious business because he's a quality player.
Yeah.
Savon Ravel is an unbelievable player. Again, the medicals, you just wonder what his situation is, and we'll find out tomorrow. Benjamin Morrison's a very good player. Again, what are the medicals? We'll find out tomorrow. Azariah Thomas is a good player, just not very fast. A lot of people like Trey Amos as well at cornerback. So, you've got cornerback as an option for the Seahawks. It definitely in round 2. Nick Emanwari, I don't think the Seahawks are going to pick him. Like, there's a reason Nick Emanwari has fallen out of the 1st round, and it's because of the character. And people, again, dismiss this. It's a smokescreen. It's all that. Bob McGinn's sources are legit. And he said that Nick Emanwari has got some character issues. Todd McShay then backed that up this week, and he's fallen out of the 1st round. I don't know how far he's going to last. There may be a point in round 2 when the Seahawks think the value is too good in terms of the talent. But he was never going to be Seattle's 1st pick, in my opinion. And it's for the character reasons. So I don't think he's an option there. But again, depending on the medicals, Kevin Winston Jr. is a very interesting, very talented player, like a 1st-round talent who's just had the injuries. Billy Bowman Jr. is a very talented player. Reminds me like a poor man's Earl Thomas. So you've got some good options there. And then just some of these that I've missed here. As I look across, I think Ty Robinson could be a 2nd-round option, and Joshua Farmer, Shamal Turner maybe. I'm not a big fan of Nick Scorton. And yeah, I think the only position we haven't talked about, Robbie, is the big one.
Quarterback.
Now, I know you like one of these quarterbacks a lot because you were DMing me about it the other day. So you tell us, like, let's say you have a chance at your guy. Tell us who it is, and then explain why you're so passionate about this player.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really a big fan of Will Howard. I just his as he's progressed through this last year, watching him play and how how he through the playoffs, how well he played, and then just his Gruden tape when he was with John Gruden. I just think he's a smart guy. He's a quarterback that's also a coach. Like he just knows a lot. I came away really impressed with him. So I really like Will Howard. I just don't think he is going to be a Seahawk. I just don't believe that's the case, but he's just a guy I really like, and so I would not be upset if we did take him. But yeah, I'm a big Will Howard fan.
You are a big Will Howard fan, as am I. I really like Will Howard, and I don't know if he's ever going to be an elite starting NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's quite got that upside, but he's pro ready. I think there are teams in this second round who could do a lot worse, who don't have quarterbacks right now. And I think he'd be an amazing pick for those teams. Could he be a pick for the Seahawks? Could they bring him in, let him compete? I wouldn't be totally surprised, Robbie, if they did that. Because John likes big, mobile, gritty guys like Will Howard. So I don't think it's completely out of the question, but he's all over the place. Like some people, I'd heard second round and a lot of interest for a handful of teams in the second round. Other people are saying like round 4, 5 for Will Howard. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. And then we've not spoken about this. Have you seen all of the Schefter stuff this week?
Minimum depends on what it is.
So yeah. Adam Schefter wrote a piece about Intel prior to the draft, and he made a point of saying the Seahawks want to trade Sam Howell, and then they want to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then the next day, he did a video, which was very interesting because he went team by team, all 32 teams, gave a thought on what they might do in the first round. And then when it got to Seattle, I'm thinking he's going to say O-line here. It's going to be, whatever. But he didn't. He said it's been since 93, since they drafted Rick Meyer, have the Seahawks not taken a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Could John Schneider take a quarterback in the first 2 rounds this year? And he might as well just winked at the end. Like he basically knows that they like a quarterback in this draft. He knows. And it's just a question of who is it, Robbie? And can they get them? And part of me still wonders when I look at this group, are they going to move up for somebody? Could they move up for Jalen Milroe? Would they take Jalen Milroe just at 50 or 52 if he lasts? Is that what they're thinking? Ditto, if Tyler Shough lasts, I could imagine John liking him. And then there's old Quinn Ewers, who we've often suspected John Schneider might have a lot of interest in. Would they take him at 50 or 52? But the way that Schefter couched it, it was almost as if I know they like a quarterback in this draft. I know they're going to go after a quarterback in this draft. You just wait and see what they're going to do. And then the other final point I would make, and a hat tip to Brian Hawkblogger for noticing this. I already knew that Quinn Ewers had the same agent, Ron Slavin, as Byron Murphy, because I had the list of agents for all of the players in the draft. But he and John Schneider have a good relationship, Robbie. And Brian shared this thing yesterday, which was an article about Quinn Ewers, where Ron Slavin was telling the story that he rang Schneider and said, I think I've just found the replacement for Russell Wilson one day. And John was like, where are you? It's like, I'm at a high school football game. Oh, who are you watching? He said, I'm watching Quinn Ewers. And Ron Slavin said in this story that he's sick of hearing me reminding him of that. Like, we bring it up all the time. I think Quinn Ewers has been working out with Mike McCarthy, who is like one of John's best friends. So I could see it being Milroe. I could see it being Shough. I could see it being Will Howard. I could see it being Quinn Ewers, Robbie. I think it's probably one of those. I tell you who it definitely isn't. It's not Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that's true.
It ain't. True. They are not down for any of that.
Yep, I agree.
Can I just
go ahead?
Oh, sorry, no. You go ahead. I've talked too much.
No, I was just going to say the Quinn Ewers thing. Someone had just said it, and I was going to remind you as well. Like John mentioned it in his interview. a few years ago about him, and just it was kind of weird because he's not the guy that name drop college players like that just out of the blue, and he did with him, which was kind of a sign that's actually what sparked our interest in Quinn Ewers. Is we're like, wait a second, like why would you just drop this guy's name? So yeah, go ahead though.
That was when they drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
And he just went, yeah, we were talking to Quinn Ewers about him. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
Why are you bringing Quinn Ewers up? Like he wasn't even at Ohio State then. He'd like already transferred to Texas. And I remember us all thinking like, that feels like a little bit like they didn't draft a quarterback in 2023, and as if they were already looking ahead to 2024. And that maybe like John had spent the day talking about, well, we can just get Quinn Ewers next year. It's fine. We didn't get a quarterback this year. It doesn't matter. We'll get Quinn next year. And then he came out and he accidentally blurted out Quinn Ewers' name in the press conference because he'd probably been like talking about him in the press room. Well, that's what we thought in the draft room, as what we were kind of thinking might have happened there. And obviously then Quinn Ewers didn't declare for the next draft. They didn't draft a quarterback again. And you kind of wonder if they've been waiting for Quinn Ewers. Now, people are going to be shouting at me going, will you stop talking about bloody Quinn Ewers? Because some people really don't like him. But I'm just saying like, that we have sort of wondered a little bit that is he waiting for Quinn Ewers? Well, we get to find out. We get to find out in the next 2 days.
Yeah, we do get to actually find out now that he's in the draft. So
I mean, if I imagine the meltdown on Twitter, Robbie, if they actually traded up for Quinn Ewers or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, the meltdown would be epic. But look, if John finds a quarterback that he likes, I'm gonna wait it out and see what it's like. And I will say this: Ewers would be a good fit for the Kyle Shanahan offense. A quick thought on Shedeur Sanders. First of all, what has happened to Rich Eisen, man? I don't know if you watch the NFL Network or ESPN, but I watched it on the NFL Network, and he's like in between the sort of blatant Michigan tub thumping that happens whenever he's on. He sounded positively miserable at the end that Shedeur Sanders had not been selected, to the point of sounding almost personally offended by it, because he's very close friends to Deion Sanders. And that's okay, I get it. But you're hosting the draft. Like, you've got to park the emotion for a little bit. And he just isn't. He isn't. And it started to annoy me when it was getting towards the end of the draft. And like everything was, well, this team could trade down and this team could trade up. And the Chiefs are now the last pick in the draft. And that's the last chance to trade up. And it's like, just accept that Shedeur's not that good. Like, one, he's not that good. Two, his entire pre-draft process was an absolute joke. Like, he took himself to the Shrine Bowl and then announced that he wasn't going to be doing anything at the Shrine Bowl. He was just going to turn up for a few interviews. And that the reason he'd gone to the Shrine Bowl was simply to ensure that his Colorado teammates could get an opportunity to perform, Robbie. Oh, how generous of you, Shedeur. Like, would it really have pained him to get out there and throw a few footballs for a week? I mean, like, get out there and compete. And then he didn't go to the Senior Bowl either. He then didn't throw at the combine or do anything at the combine. And the only thing he did was a showcase. They didn't even call it a pro day. Did a showcase just before the draft. I mean, he acted like he was a surefire top 5 pick throughout this process. And then you hear all the reports from Todd McShay saying he went into meetings basically acting like, I don't care what you think. Like, he was actively trying to steer himself to certain teams and put others off. Then I think he realized a few weeks into the process that he wasn't going to go as early as he thought. So then it was damage limitation to try and repair some of those relationships that he maybe already wrecked. I mean, this is basically the idiot's guide to how not to deal with your draft process. And he and his dad have cocked this up so much. It's unbelievable. And also the dad allowing his son, now, by constantly barking that he's going to be a top 3 pick and all of this throughout the last few years, has created this big letdown for his son now. I've hated everything about that. So I don't know where he's going to go, Robbie. I don't know which teams are going to take him. And this idea that he's probably just going to fly off the board with the next pick in the second round, I'm not sure that's going to be the case. I don't think Cleveland's going to take him. I don't think Cleveland's going to draft him. And then they've already said the Saints aren't going to draft him. So where does he go? I mean, his fall might not have ended here, guys. Like, he may carry on falling here. So I just think this, what a mess. But the Seahawks aren't going to draft him. So there we go. There's the thoughts. Have you got, so what ideal world, Robbie? We've got the draft board here. What are you thinking? What would you like to see? Like 2 offensive linemen, an offensive lineman, and a
Yeah.
quarterback, O-line, D-line? What are you looking for?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with it. Give me another offensive lineman. Go over. Give me Ratliff or give me Wilson. I'll take either one of those guys. I think that would be phenomenal. And then yeah, give me Jack or give me another wide receiver, someone like that. And, what's interesting about the running back is, how good is Henderson, man? That guy is going to be a stud. And I think he could be a good fit in Seattle. So if for any reason we did trade Kenneth Walker, that would be a guy I wouldn't hate going after as well. But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but some interesting players still out there. If you go over to the defense side of the ball, there's let's see. I mean, Donovan's still there. I mean, man, if he's slid down, I know you think like maybe got that boy Mafe stuff, but I mean, he could still be a player. I mean, when he had 17 sacks last year, it's a guy you throw into the rotation for the defensive end. I mean, there's a lot of good players. I'd be interested in seeing kind of what happens, and this is gonna be a fun one. Tomorrow's gonna be a fun day.
My sort of preferences would be if Savon Ravel Jr. is healthy, I'd have a ring round his name. I would have a ring round Donovan Ezeraku and Braden Swinson's names. Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson, definitely. Mm-hmm. The 2 tight ends, Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor, definitely. Jack Besh, definitely. And then if John wants to take a quarterback, I'm happy for him to take a quarterback. If he trades up for a quarterback, I'm going to see how it goes. The guy has been patient for so long at the quarterback position. If he sees someone that he likes enough to either take in round 2 period or to move up in round 2-4, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go and see how that player gets on. I'm intrigued by that possibility. But I think it's been a good start. I think Gray Zabel was the right pick, and we'll see what they do on day 2. So to wrap up before we get into the rest of the super chats, if you've got a super chat, send them in. I'm going to come through to the next ones. We'll do that now, Robbie, and then we'll finish off with just general thoughts. Nick says, do you think Zabel was the highest rated player on their board, or they saw the drop in the guard tier and went with their highest guard left? I think the Seahawks have consistently gone for best player available over the last few drafts, and they grade accordingly to their board. So there's always a little bit of, if you have 2 players similarly graded, but one's a massive need and one's, in this instance, let's say a running back or something like that, then they're not going to go with an Omarion Hampton over Gray Zabel. So there's a little bit of that involved. But I don't think the Seahawks would ever reach in this form of their process. John Schneider has been very strict with that. They've constantly just gone with the best player available, and I don't think that will have changed. So was he the highest rated player on their board? My guess, Robbie, is that they probably had about 5 or 6 players they're prepared to take, and he was their top rated offensive lineman within that group, and they took him. So I don't think it's I don't think there was any reaching going on there. I think it's probably a continuation of their process, frankly. KJ Smith says, do you trade up for Arroyo or just let the board fall to you? Thrilled for Zabel. That's a good question. What would you do, Robbie, in that? I really like Arroyo. So if they trade up for Arroyo, I'm happy with it. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm up for trading up, but it can't be too expensive. And I do like the idea of just kind of sort of letting the draft come to you a little bit on this.
Yeah, I'm more interested in letting it kind of fall that direction because, I mean, I really came around on AJ Barner last year and kind of would like to see what he can do. I think having Noah Fant there as well, and he's probably going to be gone after this year. I would like to see the Titans kind of just like it fall to us and not just be a position taking best player available instead of trading up for him.
Yeah, I think it's a good discussion though. I think he is a very good player. Murek says, thoughts on Hunter Wohler, the safety on day 3. I like him. I do like Wohler, and there is some potential there. I think the safeties that I really like Billy Bowman Jr., Kevin Winston Jr. I think Xavier Watts is an opportunist. I don't think he's quite as good as some people think. But what I really like is the players after that. Jonas Sanka, Andrew Makuba, Lathan Ransom, Kitten Crawford, Maxon Hook, Keandre Jackson, Marcus Siegel. These are players that I'm very interested in. So I'm not sure that Wola would be necessarily the guy that I'd pine for the most, but I do like him as a day 3 pick. Noah says, how likely is a trade up now? I'd say it's possible. It depends. It really depends on 2 things. Is there a player that they have to have that they think, okay, that player's not going to get to 50. We've got to go up and get him. Like they did with Jan Reed, like they did with DK Metcalf, like they did with Darrell Taylor, like they did with Tyler Lockett. Is there somebody who they carry in that high regard? And it could be one of the tight ends, potentially. Could be one of the cornerbacks. Could be a pass rusher who they feel that way about. Could be a quarterback. So there's definitely options there for that. So I think it's a possibility, I would say. But then they might just sort of see how the first few picks go, or they might just go all out and target somebody. Maybe they're making those calls overnight. Shoe7525 says, I never managed to catch you live, so getting a super chat in while I can. Your analysis is top notch, has been for years. Love your pods with Jeff lately. Keep it up. Thank you, Shoe. Appreciate that. Really appreciate all of the super chats tonight. Seth says, JS eating his veggies and taking his vitamins with this pick. Cheers, gentlemen. Great analysis as always. Thank you, Seth. Jayanth says, that old school NFL presenter, bring your ego to work at Play with Rich, who I love, but is insufferable lately. I agree. I just think it's a shame because he was like the best of the best for a long time. And I think too much now it's Jets this, Jets that, Michigan this, Michigan that. Having a bit of a sulk because the Jets haven't taken the player he wanted, Tyler Warren. Having a bit of a sulk because, the Michigan players are not going high enough on Mike Mayock's mock. Having a bit of a sulk because his mate's son has not gone in the first round. Like, it's just, present. Just present. Sean says, MMJS presser makes it clear they preferred Booker. I don't know. I've not seen the presser. I saw a quote from Curtis saying they didn't want to talk about him. But Booker went 12th overall. He was never in range. And maybe they did prefer Tyler Booker, but they never had a chance at him. And they weren't going to trade up for Tyler Booker. I really like Tyler Booker. He also says that JS says Booker was their number 1 interior offensive lineman. Well, maybe so. I think a lot of people felt that way. If he has actually said that, I don't know if that's necessary. I thought I saw that they said that they didn't want to talk about him, is what I thought I saw. But it doesn't matter. He was obviously Dallas's first interior offensive lineman as well. And then says, and Save the Geese says, John trades up for Milrow tomorrow. I'm ready and prepared for it if it happens. Absolutely. Thank you for all those super chats. If you have any more ones, just come in now. Albert says, the Tower of Zabel is the Tower of Power, and beneath his shadow they shall tremble and cower. Thank you, Albert. Brilliant. And lovely to see in your avatar you're sporting a Seahawks draft blog t-shirt. Great to see. Albert is a valued member of the community. So, keep those super chats coming in. I'm seeing sort of people suggesting Nick Memorial. I'll just a reminder that character is so important for this team. I just don't think they're going to go there because of what's been reported. Anyway, final thing we're going to discuss before we leave it, because it's 5:30 in the morning. 5:30 in the morning. And I've still got to write something and then probably see my kids and wife wake up before I go to bed. I just want to sort of run through, Robbie, the picks and put them on the screen and get your thoughts and if there were any that stood out for you, and I'll do the same. So here's the board. Get past Cam Ward because that was predictable. So what did you think of the Travis Hunter trade?
Yeah, I felt like it was they gave up a lot to move up for him. This was the first time I said, wow, the Browns made a really good move. They just dropped back 3 picks and gained an additional first next year and a second and like all these other picks. So they got a lot back. I think as a buddy of mine said, they got a lot back from their Deshaun Watson disaster. So I think that was a good trade for Cleveland. I don't know if it was necessarily a great trade for Jacksonville, but
Travis Hunter's a good player, but to me, it just I don't really want a player who's demanding to be cornerback and wide receiver. And is he going to be as good at both positions as he was in college? Maybe he will be, but I just don't. I don't know if I want to take on that challenge and give up an extra first rounder to do it. I thought the Browns did a good job there. I probably would have taken Ashton Genty instead of Mason Graham and sort of said, right, we're going to pass the torch from Nick Chubb to Ashton Genty. But I like Mason Graham. And to get an extra first rounder, I think they probably are now more likely to take quarterback next year, maybe, or maybe they'll take one in the mid rounds or something this year. I don't know. But I thought that was a good trade from them. Other picks, it was interesting that Ashton Genty did. In fact, I mean, everyone said Genty to the Raiders for ages, Robbie. And then right at the end, it was like, nah, they're not going to take him. Like all the experts go, no, they're going to go O-line, D-line. And Pete did take him in the end. So he's got his next Marshall on there. I mean, Genty's such a quality player. Surprised that the Panthers went McMillan, but some people loved McMillan, some didn't.
Yeah, that one surprised me a little bit. I think that was the first like real surprise for me in the draft a little bit.
My main source, and I said this on a stream, said McMillan would definitely be the first receiver taken, and he was correct. Why is it doing that? Stop doing that. Lost control of it. Colson Loveland going ahead of Tyler Warren was probably surprising to some, Robbie, but I've been a huge Colson Loveland fan throughout, and I said he would go early. He should go in the top 10. He did. I'm a bit surprised that Warren lasted to 14, but I always said 14 was the floor for Loveland, and really what I should have said was 14 was the floor for any of them. Like they were both going to go before 14. I'm not surprised. How do you feel about the Niners going Michael Williams?
Yeah, I mean, they got a really good player dropped to them, right? I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, man, how do they always just stockpile on DNs and defensive tackles, the Niners? But yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
To be honest, I don't mind it at all.
Really?
Like, he's not been consistent. He's not been able to stay healthy. He's definitely got talent.
Yeah.
But there are players in this draft that you can kind of like, for example, Walter Nolan, if it works out, could be a really dangerous player.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Williams could be, but neither of them have been consistent or shown it. And I don't know, man. I just that did not worry me at all. I love the Tyler Booker pick. I was pleased for him. As someone you kind of grow attached to these players. He was the first player I wrote up last summer. So I was happy to see him. And also I felt validated for having a strong opinion on him throughout this process to see him go 12th overall. I was surprised that Jalen Walker lasted as long as he did purely because everyone was talking him up so much, Robbie.
Yeah, well, that's the other one that I was kind of looking at when Tyler Warren went. I was like, man, well, what if Walker actually fell to us? Like, would that be someone we'd be interested in taking? So
I think they might have taken him if he lasted to 18.
Yeah.
And there was all the talk that they almost took James Pierce. So if they were going to take James Pierce instead, then Walker may have lasted to 18.
Yeah.
Walter Nolan. Do you know what's surprising about this is because he reminds you so much of not playing style wise, but of the situation of Robert Nkemdiche, who they took a major risk on Arizona back in the day from Ole Miss, same position, and it didn't work out, and they've kind of done it again. So good luck. I mean, Walter Nolan, whether he turns up, whether he can be bothered most days, and whereas like some teams can handle that and have got strong leadership, have the Cardinals got that strong leadership? I don't know. I think the head coach is quite an impressive person, and he's been with the Eagles, so maybe he can deal with it. But that is a risk. But it's a risk if it works out. They could have just got one of the best interior pass rushers in the NFL. So Shamar Stewart, I was not. Yeah, whatever. He's very much a Bengals player.
Yeah.
Egbuka, delighted for him, and delighted that the projection on him was correct. Johnny Barron's good for the Broncos. Good pick there.
I love the Hampton pick for the Chargers.
Oh, yeah. Such a Jim Harbaugh pick, isn't it?
Such a great pick, yeah.
Jackson Dart to the Giants. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my first thought when they jumped above the Rams. I was like, well, this is the quarterback. And the question then became, was it Sanders or Dart? So, yeah.
Love Malachi Starks to the Ravens. He's just such a Raven.
Yeah.
Perfect pick. It's one of the hits out in the mock. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Jihad Campbell was expected to drop because of the injury, and he did. But he just gets in there in the first round. And as does Josh Simmons, who was another one I got right. So there we go. Interesting day ahead tomorrow where the Seahawks will have 4 picks at the moment. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I'm real excited for tomorrow.
Let's have a look at other super chats. Giant says, hardest working analyst out there. Cheers, Rob. Thank you, Giant. Appreciate that. Mike says, for the first time in years, I don't feel disappointed in what John Schneider did. That's good, Mike. I must admit, when I saw you'd sent a super chat in, I was fearing it was going to be about Shedeur, not taking Shedeur Sanders, but thankfully not. Doug says, any interest in the Green Bay wide receivers for a trade? Not really. None of them really. There's a reason why the Packers fans have been desperate for them to take a receiver early, because the guy's just a bit like, he's going to collect okay receivers. I think the Seahawks can take a receiver tomorrow probably and get good value. Ryan, really appreciate this, Ryan. That's a very generous super chat. Love the content, Rob. Always top notch. Give me your top 3 picks for 50 and 52 who you think could set this team up to take the next step towards Super Bowl contention. Tate Ratledge, Braden Swinson, I think. But I'm open-minded about all the other guys. Arroyo Lasted or Taylor or somebody like that. I'm down. I'm down with it. But appreciate the super chat. And Batman's got in touch. It's great to know that Batman's with us today. He's taking time out from his busy schedule in Gotham City to join us on the stream. Thoughts on Jackson Slater, who's been connected to the Seahawks over the past month or so as a day 3 pick? I like him. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's a good player. Happy with him. There's a whole bunch of day 3. I think now that you've got one offensive lineman, as much as we're talking up Tate Ratledge and Jared Wilson, I do think they might just wait now on the O-liners because you've got like to Chase Lunt, Jack Nelson, Bryce Cabaldew, Garrett Dellinger, Logan Brown, Luke Kandra, Jackson Slater, Connor Colby, Luke Newman, Nash Jones, Eli Cox, Drew Kendall, Jake Majors, Jonah Monheim, Clay Webb. There's a lot of players there that they could take later on, so they don't necessarily need to go O-line tomorrow. In fact, Robbie, they might not. They might just look at other areas now. But I think there's some good options there. There's some good options. I just can't wait for day 2, see what they do. But in the meantime, do some sleep because it is coming up to 6 o'clock in the morning. Robbie, really appreciate your company and everything. Yeah. And go and celebrate this good day for the Seahawks, where they have taken Gray Zabel with their top pick. Like it. Very happy. Let's see what tomorrow will bring. Love the fact that everybody's been watching this live. The numbers have been amazing. So thank you for joining us immediately after the draft. Thank you to everybody who sent in a super chat. It is much appreciated. I will confirm our plans for tomorrow and what we're going to do, because I think Robbie and I probably need to have a word as to what we want to do and what we're going to do. And then I'll confirm everything on the blog. But just rest assured, there will be videos. There will be live streams. There will be articles on SeahawksDraftBlog.com. So check out the blog. Join in the community in the comment section. It's thriving today. And the blog didn't crash when they picked Gray Zabel, which was really cool. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get up towards 10,000. And if you could like the video and leave a comment as well, it'll just get more eyes on it. So I'd really appreciate that if you do me that favor. So there you go. Great first day of the draft. Really enjoyed it. Really happy to took Gray Zabel. Back tomorrow for more. Enjoy your night, Seahawks fans, and we'll see you on Friday. Bye for now.